Hello. Hello, Internet. It's me, Krissy. I am here in my kitchen in Winnipeg. It is nice and sunny today, and I'm going to be doing a Instagram Live for NutraPhoria because I'm an alumni from 2020. So I'm here to talk about plant-based nutrition today. And I'm sorry if I can't see what's going on in the comments because, oh, hi, Michelle. I'm going to have to do a lot of this. So, oh, I'm excited too. Okay, great. If you want to tell me where you're showing up from, that's kind of fun to see where we are too. I'm going to make a couple recipes today here in the kitchen. My kitchen's like filled with stuff on all sorts of sides, and there will also be a few entrances from a couple beagles. I hope you can hear me okay too. So they'll be coming in and out of the scenes. Yay, Nova Scotia! So I thought today, since we're talking plant-based nutrition, the Bahamas, yoo-hoo! Well, I'm sure it's sunnier and warmer there than it is here, but we're sure enjoying some nice Canadian summer weather here too as well. I thought my biggest obstacle when I went plant-based or vegan was tofu. So I thought, I'm over that now. So why not share a couple tofu recipes while we talk plant-based nutrition? I can tell you how I got here to do this and some of the benefits of plant-based nutrition as well. So thank you to Michelle and thank you to NutraPhoria for asking me to join and do this. And I hope we can have some fun today once I get calmed down from my coffee that I was having earlier. So I want to just say that, like, to me, nutrition is probably the most impactful, health-promoting choice that you can make in your life. And if you are a student of nutrition, I hope that you can share that with others, because that was why I chose this path, was to be able to share the health promoting benefits of nutrition and especially plant-based nutrition with other people as well. So my practice is centered around plant-based nutrition or vegan nutrition because I chose to talk the talk and walk the walk, and I was finding it a little bit hard to tell people to eat chicken when I wasn't eating it myself. But I certainly still do work with omnivore clients, and we take a plant-forward approach as opposed to making them fully go plant-based. So I'm vegan for the animals, but that's a choice that I've made myself. Bio-individuality is always important, and NutraPhoria is a school that stresses that there are options for you to study. This is not to say that one diet is superior over another. It is simply to say it deserves a place at the table, just as other nutrition patterns do as well. So with that being said, let's make a little tofu cheesecake, shall we? This one is so fun and so easy because it's fun and easy and it's tasty. And it's just one of these things that I sort of whipped up and made one day. I've got stuff pre-made because I don't want to take you through the boredom of standing here for hours waiting for things to cool off. But this is a raw vegan cheesecake, and you can add whatever kind of toppings you wish on it. I chose blueberries because I just came back from a weekend in my home of Northwestern Ontario where the blueberries are abundant and much smaller than the kind that you get in the grocery store, but tartar and sweeter at the same time too. So I like to make a little base with some dates to help stick things together, and nuts and seeds. So I chose walnuts, almonds, and sunflower seeds. If you're going for a nut-based or a nut-free option, you could certainly choose cookie crumbs. I've made it with leftover oatmeal cookies. If you want, this is all gluten-free too, this recipe, so you don't have to worry about that. So I mix those things together with a little bit of coconut oil, melted, and some salt, and this is not my usual vanilla, but some vanilla as well. I happen to get a clear one this time. Mix that all together, and then I form it in a muffin tin because I like to make little individual ones. It's kind of hard to see. I don't want to tip it over because some of them are not fully formed in there yet. So I make that all up, I stick it in the fridge, and then we're gonna make the filling here today. And while I do that, I'm gonna probably talk plant-based nutrition because that's what we're here for, and also a little bit about my backstory in terms of how I got here. I just love being in my own kitchen because I can just open up the drawer here. So taking a plant-forward approach, this is soft tofu, by the way, if you've never used it before. It's very jelly-like, and it's got a nice smooth texture. I know some people complain about the texture of tofu. That's for my dogs later. They can have that piece. But with a plant-forward approach, you're gonna be looking at the first thing on your plate is gonna be plants, right? So no matter what your nutrition plan, thinking about what kind of plants you can incorporate on your plate is always the most important thing. So it's one way, I would say the most important part of a plant-based diet is to incorporate morals with your nutrition pattern, if you will, and adopting a lifestyle. Okay, so everybody loves to boil their cashews. Oh yeah, you've never thought of putting it in. Yeah, this is all about the protein, this tofu recipe, tofu cheesecake recipe. It's super easy. I don't boil my cashews when it comes to dessert stuff. I just buy cashew butter because it's already done for you. So I'm just gonna put in a little bit of that. Also, you can get the recipes on my website because I'm terrible at measuring things while I'm live or cooking for my family. But I certainly do I measure them before I post them on my website. Okay, so we got tofu, cashew butter, and then I like to add in a little bit of yogurt because the yogurt gives it that like cheesecakey flavor. And do you think switching to plant estrogens from animal estrogens can help with hormonal imbalances? Well, I do believe I'm at the phase of life, if you can't already tell, that phytoestrogens from soy are certainly helpful than artificial hormones that have been added to meat. I do feel as though it has certainly helped me and has helped my clients in a number of ways in terms of hot flashes, etc. But that being said, research is still probably going to argue with us on that, but I would say that there are so many benefits with phytoestrogens that can certainly help with your hormones and getting things into a homeostasis state. So I hope that answers your question. So we got some yogurt in there, and then I like a little lemon zest in there, especially with the blueberries. I make this dried lemon peel, and then I grind it up in the Ninja. You have a Vitamix, and it just kind of adds a little bit more flavor to it. I don't know, it's a bit of work, but it's a good way to, do some scrappy cooking. And then I like some lemon juice in there as well. I think I might have added too much, but you don't have to add that much unless you want to do this. So to really amp up the protein, because protein is always a concern on a plant-based diet, I add a scoop of, this one happens to be the Sun Warrior one. It is a plant-based vanilla one, and great idea for the lemon peel. Yeah, I guess my mom was born in the war times, so I like to think that I have to try and salvage things. So all of this together, and then you can add a sweetener if you want. This plant-based, protein powder is already pre-sweetened with some stevia, so I find it very sweet. Alternatively, you could add maple syrup, I've got sugar here, you could add sugar to kind of keep it nice and white and plain. Goes in the blender. And then we end up with, I'm not turning on my blender, trust me. We end up with this really nice, it's been in the fridge overnight, so it's already set up. And you can see it's very mousse-like. So I'll just top off a couple of these pre-made little crust that I did earlier. I think with plant-based nutrition, some of the big things that are of concern is a lot of the myths, because plant-based nutrition comes with sort of a belief system. And whenever there's a belief system, it tends to get a little bit like maybe religious sounding, or it gets preachy sounding, and it can turn people off. But there is a benefit to that too. And the benefit is that can actually keep people sustaining the diet, because when there's a belief system involved in it, they can sustain it for a lifetime, which is fantastic. Oh, I forgot the coconut oil too. You want a bit of coconut oil in that container in your little cheesecake recipe to help it kind of set up and gel up. It really kind of mashes it together. And then you can make whatever you wish. You could have just berries on top. I made like a blueberry coulis recipe with just some cornstarch, some blueberries, a bit of maple syrup and some water, and then topped it off. Stuck it in the fridge for a few hours. You really don't have to set it up for too long. It sets up nice. They look like that. And they're about 200 calories each, and they're jam-packed with protein, because we got about 25 grams, I think, of protein in the protein powder, and then we've got that whole block of tofu going in that recipe. It makes a good 12 containers. There is 5 grams, 15 grams. So there's 15 grams of protein in that soft tofu. The extra firm tofu has less water, so it's got more protein. Oh my God, I need to make this. Okay, we'll go grab the recipe on nourishedwillow.com. So that's these guys. So while I still start talking about some of the misinformation maybe that's out there, when these snippets of information come out about different myths about plant-based eating, then people get a little bit worried, right? They get a little scared. They don't know what to believe. They start to believe they shouldn't eat broccoli. They start to believe they shouldn't eat tofu is a great example. Soy has fantastic benefits for all sorts of people. And always consult with your nutritionist, your naturopath, your doctor, whatever it may be, your healthcare provider, before you start making any changes in your diet anyway. So yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I think that's why people like myself and others that partake in plant-based nutrition and really focus in on the topic, and now a school like NutraPhoria also dedicated to bringing the correct information and really standing behind it for their students is fantastic. So it's great that they've got that option now. And once I'm done my CE credits for this year, then I'll be looking into a course for next year as well from NutraPhoria. So can't wait. So let's address a couple of the myths. Can you get complete proteins from a plant-based diet? And yes, you can. All plants, I need my kitchen elf to pass me that, or I'm going to knock over someone's coffee. All plants have, or not all plants, but you can get complete protein from a plant-based diet. It just comes in varying amounts, and that's why it is so important to plan things out properly, and the role of a plant-based nutritionist becomes even more critical than perhaps you would regularly think. I don't want to bash anybody here, but I thought I would make some crispy tofu too while we're at it. This one's another favorite that we have in our house to just kind of get things started. Oops, I should have cut this open. I'll get that to my kitchen elf while we chat a little bit more. So the protein conversation comes up. Can you get all your essential amino acids? And yes, you can. You just have to make sure that you're planning it out. Probably because of, oh yeah, absolutely. GMO soy has probably caused a lot of that misinformation, or not misinformation, but data or research or observational evidence, if you will. Most of the soy that I find here in Canada is non-GMO. It's got the little symbol up there. Sunrise is always a pretty good, safe brand, and it's fairly economical too. I buy about 5 or 6 blocks a week for the family. There's only 3 of us, well, sometimes there's 4. So we get a lot of our protein from tofu, that's for sure. It's a favorite because it's so easy to do things with. One of the other things that I hear often lately is seed oils, and I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about seed oils unless you are chugging gallons of it. Moderation always. And I don't know why plant-based eating gets accused of having more seed oils, but it does. And vegans eat way too many carbs is another one. You hear that one a lot, and it's like, yes, we do. Yes, we do, and especially if you are new to plant-based eating or vegan eating, and you're probably going to lean more towards the carbs, and it can be tricky. Just remember to look for complex carbs, things that are higher in fiber. Eating more whole foods as opposed to more processed foods is always the simplistic way to go too. You'll never get enough nutrients. I remember someone telling me very explicitly that I would never get enough B12. And I hate to tell them, but they probably weren't getting enough B12 themselves. And I've had one or two incidences in my life where I was not properly planning my diet out, and my stress levels were high, and other things were going on in my life. So yeah, it was a problem. But for the most part, planning it out, nutritional yeast is your best friend for B12, provided you get the fortified one, or taking a supplement too. And most people that are omnivores are probably already taking supplements too. So that is one of the things that is not necessarily a worry. I'm going to make, because we were in northwestern Ontario, I'm going to make a pickerel-inspired crispy tofu, because when I was growing up as a kid, we would go down to the lake and catch fish. Well, I was never successful, but my brother certainly was. And we would get nice fresh fish out of the lake. And to me, the things that I've missed, and most plant-based people will admit that there's always things they've missed. Cheese is usually one that people are bothered by. To me, it's pickerel in the summer, especially when I go home. But it's also eggs too. And there's other fantastic ways to incorporate eggs. So I cut them in thin little slices like that, and then I give them a little boop boop, little slice on the diagonal. And then I like to give a, sometimes, not always, but a little bit of a wash of apple cider vinegar. You could use lemon juice for this too, and just kind of dip them in and kind of get them soaking. You could marinate it if you really want a sour flavor, but I'm not necessarily fussy on that with this recipe. And in fact, I'm not even going to marinate it because I barely do. I'm going to dust it though. So I'm going to make this little dusting recipe with some chickpea flour, dill for that fishy pickerel inspired meal, some onion powder, don't mind me as I don't measure again, and then I've got the furikake, help me kitchen elf, how to pronounce this, furikake. It's nori, but it's got some sesame seeds in here as well, and that's going to give it a bit of a fishy flavor. You don't want to put in too much or it gets too fishy, and with that memory of what pickerel tasted like, it was not a fishy flavor. It's very mild fish. So, and then I've got the standby, the good old standby nutritional yeast, some salt, just a little bit of salt. You could also use other seasonings, maybe if you want to put tamari in the mix here too, and a bit of black pepper. Oh, you can grab this recipe. Go sign up for my newsletter on my website, which is nourishwillow.com. It'll pop up and ask you to sign up for the newsletter, because I will share these exact recipes in my newsletter this week. So I've got some on there that I've adapted this from, but so just kind of mix it all together like that, and then I'm going to toss it in. So there's always ways that you can add in more plants into your diet, and I think too, part of the reason why I liked holistic nutrition, especially with NutraPhoria, was that nutrition went beyond just food. Because to me, you could eat as great as you wanted to, but if you weren't managing stress, etc., then you're really not getting far ahead, right? Because you got to manage that stress. So I also like to sort of when I work with my clients, I like to tell them not to worry so much about one food or one meal per se, because hey, let's face it, we're all human. I like Oreo cookies too. I like potato chips, and popcorn is my absolute die-for indulgence. Like, I could eat it every night of the week. So look at your patterns over your plate. And again, that's more of a holistic nutrition kind of, benefit. So these, now I tend to like just drizzle them with a bit of avocado oil. I can throw them in the air fryer. I can throw them in the oven. You could pan fry them if you want that too, but a little bit of oil is going to help them to crisp up and be more like fishy-like. And we're going to get to what we're going to do with that in a second here, because I'm going to make a little dressing to go with a meal. I love having someone help me in the kitchen. I wish this was permanent. And then one of the other things I like to tell my clients too is that, aside from the patterns and habits that you choose, then be adventurous with your food too. So if you opt for any diet and you stick with the same 4 foods over and over again, you're not going to achieve health results unless you start to add a bit of variety. And I'm going to get to that, because there's one thing that I love to talk about, and it's the gut microbiome, but we're getting there. So I want to talk a bit about a few of the plant-based benefits that I've seen, my clients have seen, my family has seen, in terms of health. And plant-based eating has a myriad of benefits, but first and foremost, I gotta say, is fiber, because it is something that you can really focus on in a plant-based diet. And our gut microbiomes are made up of all of these trillions of microbes, like bacteria and yeast and fungi and archaea, and they rely on our waste products, fiber, right? All that indigestible fiber that we can't digest because it's indigestible, they like to take that and turn it into treats for us, into metabolites called short chain fatty acids, things like butyrate, propionate, and acetate. And these things are so beneficial for our health because they add like fuel for the cells that line our gut. They also improve our gut health by keeping our epithelial cells like super tight, so that, leaky gut syndrome that people talk about. They help to regulate our blood sugar by stimulating insulin release and slowing down the release of glucagon. They also help us to feel full, these short chain fatty acids, because they act on fat cells that actually are responsible or promote the release of leptin. So then we get that sensation of feeling full and thus reducing our appetite. So fiber helps to reduce the appetite, but so do these little sidebar effects, these short chain fatty acids. There is some research being done that they may help with mineral absorption as well, and to lower inflammation and possibly improve our immune response to invaders. So that's fiber, short chain fatty acids, and one of the great benefits of going plant-based. I have spoons over here. And then gut health, which I kind of touched upon there, a little bit of the epithelial cells getting nice and tight thanks to those short chain fatty acids and healing up, fueling that gut lining. But thinking about, increased fiber in the diet and the metabolites produced, my gut has never felt better. Like, as soon as I made the switch to mostly a whole food plant-based diet, I found that my brain was clearer, my skin was clearer, my health improved, my anxiety was lowered, and I suffered far less from any kind of gut-related issues. Some people tend to, and I have worked with clients before who want to go full board, 100%, and dive in super deep into the deep end, and they pour cans and cans of beans into their daily routine. I'm going to put this miso paste in for our dressing. And then they come back and go, oh my God, help, I'm going to the bathroom all the time. Well, you can't go from 0 to 100 overnight. It's just not going to work. So you got to go slow and easy and low before you can kind of ease in, or you're going to have worse gut health, and we don't want that, right? The next benefit I have to say is weight management, and I say weight management because a lot of people associate plant-based eating with weight loss, which is true, but if you take out, I'm putting avocado oil in the dressing here, if you take out anything in your diet, you are probably going to see weight loss, right? Like if I change what I put in my coffee every day, I'm probably going to notice a loss in weight. So think more about the plant-based eating and getting all of that, those benefits from the short-chain fatty acids, from the fiber, etc., from the nutrients, from the phytochemicals, the plant chemicals. This is a little bit apple cider vinegar to help make this sour, that are going to help you feel satisfied. They're going to help you feel cleaner and healthier. And yes, when you are following a whole food plant-based diet, there is some evidence to suggest that people who do tend to lose weight a little bit easier and tend to be a little bit leaner. So I think about it more as weight management as opposed to weight loss, and it should never be considered a short-term diet. It's a kind of the benefit of that belief system that I talked about earlier, that people can stick with it more because it is more of a lifestyle. There's some other benefits to it too that aren't just health related, right? One of the other benefits, health related wise though, happens to be lowering the risk of cardiovascular disease and cancer, things like hypertension and cholesterol too, especially if you're including a lot more fiber in your diet. And replacing animal-based proteins with plant-based proteins. I have lots of garlic because I like my garlic. Can also have other side effect benefits like good carbohydrates. So now you're eating a plant-based source of protein like lentils, like chickpeas, like black beans, that also add some fiber into your diet and some healthy fats too. Plus you're getting adequate nutrients. You're getting a whole bunch of B vitamins that you might not have normally got, or some non-hemi iron too, right? So you gain all these phytonutrients that have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties from a variety of sources rather just than 3 to 4 animal meats that people tend to choose, right? Last, I want to say that, that was ginger, by the way. And then I've got some lime juice here too to go in this. I'm going to get on it here. And then maple syrup. Bit of maple syrup to go in this too, which is not open, so we're just going to pretend to shake it all up. And that's going to be our dressing for after this. And then I'm going to go grab that stuff over there too. I like to think that now we have this great benefit of not having to sacrifice much in our diets because as plant-based eaters or vegan eaters, because things have evolved and changed so much over time that there's so many choices, right? And it's far more accepted. There's far more information. This is where NutraPhoria comes in, a school that's going to offer a course now for you to do it properly for yourself or for your clients. And that to me is a win. So I love to talk about the gut microbiome, and I did a little bit earlier, but the proof is really in the plants. And in 2018, the American Gut Project was published, and they took 10,000 citizen scientists and they studied what these people were actually eating. And what they discovered was the better the microbiome, gut microbiome that they had from their stool samples, and the better good gut bugs they had, it came from eating a minimum of 30 plants a week. 30 unique plants a week, I should say. So in this recipe today, we made the tofu, which had tofu, dill, chickpea flour, help me out here, nori, we had a bit of sesame seeds, we had some of those things in there. And I counted up, I lost count after 30 of how many different plants that I added into this one meal, because I'm including the cheesecake as well too. So now I'm going to add in, I'm making this into a bowl. You could add like brown rice or whatever you want. I've got some red cabbage, some sprouts here, some lettuce, some carrots. Would you mind grabbing me the peppers that are cut up in there? Oh, never mind. It's okay. Some celery. I even took the carrot tops because I like the flavor of that. Some mint, because summer is coming to an end and I have to use up all of my herbs outside before winter comes. I'm adding cilantro. Okay, there's a bit too many herbs in here maybe. I had some romaine lettuce as well. And then I've got some nice basil too. And I'm just tearing it up because that really gets all of those oils in there too, that flavor, right? So there's that. And then I've got some sweet potato, some good healthy carbs, and I did some roasted chickpeas, and I actually did them the same flavor as the tofu. So we've got some nice fiber in there and a little bit more protein. Plus we're gonna have the protein for, I had the peppers right here. And then there's some peppers. So I'll tell you a quick little backstory, and then I had some cucumber too. You can add in whatever kind of veggies you want. We'll top this off with tofu. I'll tell you my backstory here because I come by plants kind of honestly. Growing up in northwestern Ontario, ta-da, my family were grocers. So my great-grandparents, or my great-grandfather, my grandparents, and my family all owned a independent grocery store. And my dad would play butcher, my grandfather would play butcher, and my brother and I would have to work at the store. And so my mom was like in charge of produce, and my brother and I would do whatever we were told, kind of thing. And my dad used to make me clean up in the butcher shop, which I hated. And as a teenager, things started to really shift and change with how the meat was packaged and how it was coming in, and it bothered me a lot. So I started to dabble in the vegetarian waters as a teenager, and then I tried the vegan thing, but didn't really know what I was doing because it was a long time ago, and there was not much support, and there was really nobody that I could talk to that was doing it as well. So I went off to university, and I decided that I was going to study environmental science, which was at the time at the University of Manitoba was either botany. You could take courses through botany, through the agriculture department, or through zoology. And I really didn't want to dissect animals. In fact, I would skip those labs. So I went down the botany route, which was kind of interesting. So I studied plants, and I learned to love plants, and I have now kind of assimilated into a career, which is kind of odd because for most of my working career, I worked in financial services in product and marketing specifically. So I was a bit more of a geek. I'm going to show you the bowl here too while we chat. And then about 8 or 9 years ago, I watched a documentary with my family, and we all kind of shifted our mindset, and we decided to take the vegan diet a little bit more seriously, about improving our health, about improving the planet, and about improving animal welfare. I think the animal welfare was what really did it for me because I could eat with a clear conscience, and that was what I was after. So sometimes, though, when you feel well, you also find out what it feels like to feel ill. So it was my husband who was at the peak of his health. He started to experience what felt like GERD, and he went to a doctor who gave him PPIs. He became dizzy. He started to black out. He would stand up on the GO train in Toronto, and he knew something was wrong. And I like to think now, in retrospect, that he found out something was wrong because he knew what good felt like, right? He knew what healthy felt like. So he went and he saw every single specialist out there that existed in the Greater Toronto area, which we were lucky to be there because there is so many people out there that are qualified to help you. He saw cardiologists, he saw neurologists, he saw endocrinologists, you name it. He saw everyone. And it was finally a cardiologist where we were living in Burlington, that was substituting a woman. She was substituting in for the regular practitioner who said, I don't know what's going on, but maybe we should send you for an MRI. and see what's kind of happened here. Maybe you've had a stroke. So he went for the MRI, and they were calling him, and he wasn't answering. So then they started calling me to find him a few hours after the MRI, which is never a good sign, right? They told me, I probably shouldn't tell this because it's probably not good on their part to have done this, but it's all much better now, that he had a lesion on his brain and they needed to operate imminently. So we went through now from going from the peak of our health to being through MRI machines and hospitals in the middle of the night and prepping for surgery and planting things. What's this for? Okay. And things kind of came full circle. Anyway, so I like to think that if it hadn't have been for the nutrition, we probably wouldn't have noticed a change in our health. And we would have just been plugging along, taking the GO train and living the lifestyle of stress, and not, I feel dizzy, I feel weak, I got a stomachache, whatever. So during that period of time, I actually was studying through NutraPhoria, and I had to kind of pause things for our family's reasons. But the good news is that they were able to take out the brain tumor. He's alive and well. He's upstairs listening to me tell this story about him. But I firmly stand behind the fact that if we hadn't made a change in our diet and lifestyle, then our story could be very different. And I think there's so many people out there too that, recognize this and have identified with this because they've got a similar situation as well. So now I love to connect plant-based nutrition specifically with the gut-brain connection and how that all works. So in 2020, when I finished my program, and now I'm a registered holistic nutrition practitioner, I finished my program through NutraPhoria. I like to still learn. And now I'm a HeartMath certified practitioner as well, so I teach HeartMath as well. And I'm taking a traditional Chinese medicine course in dietary therapy. I can't even, that's really good. I haven't looked at it for a while, can you tell? But next on my list is this plant-based nutrition course through NutraPhoria. So I'm excited about that because I love working with people who are ready to care about their diet, change their diet, but are also impacting how it helps the planet and animals. And I'm really, really drawn to share with you that I love this, and I'm so glad that I went down this path. And now it's just kind of all come full circle in terms of what it all meant. You can kind of connect the dots as you so choose, but that's it in a nutshell. So we've got 30 plants to eat today, and I have a very hungry family that's ready for their lunch, I'm sure. So I hope you can stay connected with me. I am at nourishedwillow.com, and you're welcome. Thank you, Genevieve. Nourishedwillow.com, and you can follow me here on Instagram at the Nourished Willow. And I'm even over on TikTok. I don't know why. I'm over on TikTok at Nourished Willow. So visit me on the web. Make sure you sign up for my newsletter so that you can grab these recipes. And I hope you had fun today. I have a messy kitchen to clean up and a couple of hungry dogs hanging by my feet. So have a great day, everybody. And thanks again for joining.